COT's base of operations is right here at thecouncilofTime.com. COT has no other outlet or venue. These are other folks who will rebroadcast, like DailyExcellence, who is authorized to rebroadcast by way of video.
So here's the main man. All right, hang on, Mike, 1 second here. Mike from around the world. Mike, you there?
Right here.
All right, Mike. How you doing?
Good to go?
Good to go. I sent you a link, but I sent it late because Heidi's not here to keep me on track. She's up in Indiana. You know. No excuse, Mike. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just saying.
Oh, you're good to go, Pastor Paul.
All right. Let's make sure we can.
I don't quite see a link yet.
Wow. It's coming from me instead of Heidi.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't even see it now?
No.
Okay. Well, you're on the air.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, we'll just use the phone.
Okay. Sounds good.
Can you guys hear him all right? Seems a little low for me. Mike, let's try that.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Oh, that's better. Okay.
Better?
That's better. Okay.
All right.
Mike, how you doing tonight?
Good. Busy. Good.
I know. All right, we got to jump right to it. Mike, we know that there's the 60-day thing, but we want to talk about Romania right now because a drone crashed into an apartment complex in Romania. We don't know how many people were injured, and we don't know who did it. Was it a stray from Ukraine? Was it a Russian stray? Was it a NATO stray? NATO jets were scrambled like crazy. Can you tell us what happened?
Well, they're pointing towards Russia on this. They are. And so it's got everybody, everybody's a bit on edge because of this, believe it or not. And these, an accident just like that could be one of the big reasons why, things go in a higher gear.
Go haywire fast. Well, you said, and it was just, a few months ago, you said in this time, if there's an accident or if there's an accidental situation, you could start World War III.
Absolutely. Well, you see it now. You see Europe, they're on alert. And, some of the other nations surrounding that are now coming on board. So everybody is a bit up in arms. Everybody was already antsy. And if it turns out they've gone through some verification already. So they have a really good idea.
It's
it's just one of those situations that they're looking for more aggressive or intrusive steps that could be taken.
So it looks like it's a Russian drone.
Yep.
I would say that they're prodding to see how quick there's a response, what capabilities they have to be able to get a drone in there and hit an apartment complex. I mean, they're testing the waters. Is that what you think?
Yeah, that's one of the alarming things. That airspace, right? It's supposed to be protected.
It's supposed to be. So how did it get across and hit an apartment?
There you are. So for someone to take advantage of somebody else's airspace, it's a big time violation of certain powers. So I would expect that everybody goes on a higher than normal alert status. I would not be surprised if some sort of retaliation came from this.
Now let's talk about that. We know that Romania is always used to be under the Iron Curtain. They the people were brutalized, and they have never forgotten, and neither should they. Okay, if they retaliate against Russia, does Russia let that go, or where do we go from here?
No, I think this will test the cohesion of NATO. I really do. You're going to have, at some point in basketball, we're going to have breakaway situations. So imagine a nation of NATO acting on its own, right? Mm-hmm. And without the approval of the rest of the NATO body. This could be a real issue. And a real issue because you have people who are intimidated by Russia. Others want Russia gone because they're not very cooperative. And this could be an excuse for someone to act within their, abilities. That could be a problem. You'd be surprised how many generals out there would act on their own in NATO without approval from
Really?
their specific country. They know tensions are high. They know that it's very easy to fluster certain individuals out there. So cohesion is not as tight as it should be, and this could be, one of those points of interest that leads to bigger things.
Let me ask you a question, Mike, and I don't know this answer and I've studied World War II a lot, but I don't know the answer. Did Adolf Hitler ever test the waters before making? And I know he did his Neville Chamberlain deal and just flat lied. But did he ever test the waters before making a run at a nation?
He always did.
Okay.
Well, what he would do, he did what he did politically.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Except when it came to Russia, because he would lie. He'd make promises and lie and press his adversary into the corner and say, well, now you have to help. And here's how you're going to do it. And then he would, backstab them in the meanwhile. So, yeah, he did. And this could be, the drone is not the only issue today, right? So if it were just the apartment buildings, fine. But it's not. You have to remember, there's constant cyber attacks taking place.
Okay.
Constant intrusion attempts taking place.
Okay.
There are also these fractured parties of people, soldiers, right, that could be acting on their own, who are probing every other nation to see how they can, get inside of a nation to bring it down from the inside. So it's a multifaceted type situation we face tonight, and they're not sure where this drone is going to fit into that. But believe me, it's caused some alarm. There's submarines involved, other things are involved, and there are points of escalation that eventually will go beyond, bringing everything back in. They won't be able to corral the beast that's let loose. That point could easily come so quick.
The spirit of war, the timing of this complexity of war, nations rising up against nations and kingdoms against kingdoms. It's following right down Matthew 24. At the same time we got Ebola, same time we have forgive me for
salmonella.
Yes, in a prison there in New York, and we got other stuff, but this has put this. Not only is Russia testing to see they got it through there, but there's a test to see does Romania act on their own, break the command of NATO? And here's a question: did a general in Russia's army act alone without Putin's approval? Could that have been happening?
Yeah, it could have been. It could have been. It really could have been. Of course, I will say this: Russia has a pretty good grip on their command and control, right? Their chain of command and control, they do. But there's so many different sectors of the Russian army that are disconnected, right? For example, there are lots of Middle Eastern individuals who have taken over large brigades inside the Russian army. One of my greatest concerns is that the Muslim population, right? You're going to have some of these militant Muslims who take over operations in Russia militarily. And that's a big concern. That's a huge concern right now as we speak. This was pointed out, I believe, about a month ago. It became a real issue. In other words, it's starting to happen in too many different places. So there could be folks in high command who acted on their own, but in this case,
I'm sorry about that, Mike. Go ahead.
Okay, in this case, I believe that Russia is Putin. He knows what he's doing in this case, right? He's going to do certain things intentionally, and I can tell you, he's tired of the game that's taking place, right? He's very methodical. He's not going to give up Ukraine
No.
but he will seek to broaden his territory. When you have places like Poland and other places in that province who are now arming themselves or have armed themselves in certain NATO movements that have taken place there, he's not going to tolerate that. Well, he can't tolerate NATO at his back door, right? He can't do that. And so they have been building up forces there, and he will respond to that eventually.
Well, there's been 40 to 60,000 troops that have been. The announcement has been to be deployed. They're in process that are supposed to be along the borders of Poland, Romania, Estonia, Latvia, and all these nations there. Is he thinking, I can't sit around and wait till they get in position? I might have to make a move first?
He doesn't care. He doesn't care because of what he has in that area. He really doesn't care. I think it's the case of a lot of the Putin is very dangerous. He has some very dangerous weapons, right?
Absolutely.
The greater portion of Russian power, though, comes from perception, naturally. And so he's going to play that role of not being moved or not being frightened or not backing down, this, that, and the other. But if he ever decides to hit, he's going to do it with his best interest in mind. There are certain times of the year that are favorable than others. So wind patterns are a big factor in this. But I believe this time, when the winds change, he will escalate what he's doing. He already knows he can't cooperate with anybody else. He knows that if America tells him not to do something, we're going to intervene quickly, right? And that's a severe showdown. But I believe it's really escalating to that point. So we're going to hit a breakout moment very soon. It's inevitable. Everybody is tired of this war, right? The Ukraine is tired. Russia's tired of the war. NATO is tired. The USA is tired, believe it or not, and because it's been dragging on for many years. So someone is going to escalate this war, and I do believe that could come from Russia. And the reason I say that's because there are many, many Muslim operators in the Russian army who are in position, right? They're in command of troops, and they will act on their own. They will act. I would even give that a big window of time. I'd give that a small window of time.
You've been saying that the Muslim part of this Russian army, the fact that if they are strong enough, if they're in control, they may look and say, we've got enough guys here now. We can take something. We don't have to listen to Putin. We can do this, and we'll deal with him later. I mean, that kind of mentality, because they have a different ideology. Am I correct? Do they have this Sharia law type ideology, or this apocalypse?
Worse than that. Yes, worse than that. And they believe this is their moment, right? Their window, their what they call it, their days of blessing, right? That if they were to act on Israel and the USA, they would be successful, right? So Russia has these individuals in their Air Force. They have them in their armies and Marines. We're talking about the Russian military forces here. They have them in their comparable to ours, their Space Command, right? They have Russian high-ranking officers who give orders every single day. So it wouldn't be too much it wouldn't be a stretch to think that they would coordinate and usurp power of that military. I believe that's eventually going to happen. They will usurp the power of the military, or they'll become one with presidential thinking, and they'll do it all together. And I think that's going to happen relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Iran, by the way, they're not going to give up, right? They're not. And they've taken their position as way it's going to be. But they also have help from China, and they also have help from Russia. And Saudi Arabia is a wild card.
Yeah.
Because their name is going to be up in the news from what they've been doing. They've been playing both sides of the fence, essentially. Saudi Arabia wants to protect itself. And if they have to turn against some of their own allies, and so be it, they've done it before, they'll do it again.
So let me ask you a question, because you've always said Saudi Arabia is the one you can't trust. They're the betrayers. Trump in a conference call with 9 nations talking about trying to a ceasefire, trying to do a deal where you get the Strait of Hormuz open, a deal where there'd be that we would take maybe 36 months to get all the nuclear dust out of Iran, with Iran letting us do it. He said it's time for all of you guys to go ahead and let's sign the Abraham Accord. It's time that we do that. And from what I understand, there was silence. So silent that Trump asked, are you guys still there? Are you I mean, see what I'm saying? So talk about that, Mike. What does that mean?
Well, they see things going in a different direction, right? They ultimately, Pastor Paul, they're going to side with the Islamic world.
Yeah.
And all of us have to remember that. You know, when war breaks out, when hostilities break out, in the Middle East, they see things in a very different way. We see, for example, we'll see somebody like Europe. Hey, they need our help, but we don't see them as brothers, right? We don't see them that way. In the Middle East, when something happens to those in the Middle East, they begin to see each other as brothers. They begin to see any intruders, right? Any outsiders as invaders. And what that means is the USA is not going to be a friend of anybody in the Middle East should regional war break out. And that should be, you know, they should never forget that. I know that there are some admirals and generals. They're greatly cautioned by that, right? Because if they turn on us and in unity, we're done for in the Middle East, right? We're going to be done for. They have too many places they can hit us. They know where everything is. Turkey would turn on us in a heartbeat.
Yes, they would.
They're already discussing certain strategic plans with Russia for Iran. That's not good, right?
You're talking Ezekiel 38. You're starting to talk.
Yeah, well,
you know,
they're doing it. They're doing it. And so once it begins, I believe it's going to be we're not talking about some overnight conflict. We're talking about something that will eventually consume the earth.
Mike, let me ask you, so we have an apartment complex sitting in Romania, and a drone from Russia comes in and smashes into it and kills some people or hurts some people. And it's like they test the water. This could escalate quickly. You say that Romania or NATO, that'll be the question. Is it Romania that responds, or does NATO respond? If they do, Putin's not going to let that go. Does China start eyeing Taiwan at the same time? This is what I'm hearing you say is things could escalate quick. You got submarines everywhere. There's danger lurking everywhere. Everyone's got a gun pointed at everybody. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is
so
dangerous.
Essentially people are in position, right? They're also fatigued from not making too much headway, because they're not. Right? They're stuck in one position, and low morale is something no soldier desires to endure. People get antsy. Accidents happen, right? Mistakes happen. And some people get, especially with the folks that we're dealing with now in different governments and armies, some people will take authority upon themselves to enact specific things. Everybody does not have a fail-safe like the USA, right? The USA can override a battleship. They can override an aircraft carrier. They can override aircraft. That's not the case in other places. They cannot override certain munitions or certain tactics, right? So here we are again. This is only getting worse. This is year number 3 of when the globe repositioned itself for a World War III scenario. And now the pieces are they have dug in, and they're moving closer to their objectives, right? Now we're starting to see accidents or these weird coincidences, explosions, rockets exploding on investigations started with that, anomalies they call them. But they know foul play is involved in a lot of things, right? And it's going to reach a boiling point quite quickly.
You know, when I read the book of Revelation, and this is the vision I had in 2021 in July, I seen Apollyon coming out of the bottomless pit. He was releasing those other demons. It was unbelievable what I saw. It was so demonic. It was so dark. It was like, you know, like the Bible says. And, but then I began to see wars and this incredible, horrible time on earth. And then it wasn't long. I mean, that was July of 21. By February of 22, Putin invaded Ukraine. And it's not like he wasn't going to. He had already been there for Little Green Men, had been there since 2014. You said it then. He'll never leave. He'll never leave. And here we are. It's 2026. But it's kind of like a grinding. It's like, so is it possible that he's reaching out to get something else started because this can help him escalate? He's at war with NATO already. I mean, now let's face it, he really is, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And he has. Russia has developed brand new threats for the world, right? That are horrible threats for the world. Russia has been busy in the oceans. Now, remember, most of the Russian budget over the last 45 years has gone to their Navy, specifically to submarines. So you have these vehicles that never go back to Russia, but are in the ocean continuously. Think about that.
Yeah, I know.
They've been on mission for years. And what will eventually become of that is very horrific. But Russia, that's why Russia continues to make these threats. But I just know in the window we're in, those threats won't be threats. They're going to be actions from Russia. Russia is aggressive, right? When they want something done, they're going to do it. Just like they took Crimea, like they went against the Ukraine. The day before they went into Crimea, they said, no, we have nothing in Crimea.
I know.
We're not going to do anything.
We're not going to do nothing.
And then they attacked, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with Ukraine.
Yep.
You could see it. People were telling me, well, they're not going to do anything.
They were already doing it.
Putin is not who you think he is, number one, to a lot of people. Remember, they were saying he was a godly man, this and the other.
No.
But see, that's how propaganda works, right? Propaganda will have a person perceive the world the way it's not. And how they're presenting everything now is not the way the world is. It's not the way it is.
Are you saying that would Putin be willing to let a Russian Orthodox priest bless him and baptize him if that if that can throw off half the Christian world?
He would.
Yeah.
Sure he would. Sure he would.
That's what he did.
What type of a Christian, right, can pray 1 hour and then kill one of his buddies, 3 of his cabinet members, and his competition, 15 people in one day, right? Who can do that and then have no conviction behind it? You're looking at someone who can utilize everything of themselves and everything else to accomplish what they need to accomplish. That's what you're looking at. That's what people are not used to seeing. Right? They see it in movies, like a serial killer or some of these horrible, horrific killers. What people have seen in movies is not comparable to what truly exists in this world. It's just not comparable.
Mike from the World's with us, folks. Well, the reason we're talking about this because I know you may not have heard, and I don't know what the legacy media is doing. It's they may be asleep. They don't like to work too much. But we have a drone from Russia has crashed into a apartment building in Romania. Do you think that's an accident? Mike says no. And so Putin is prodding now. He's seeing how can he do it? Will they respond? He doesn't care. He's at war with NATO. The question now is, how do we respond? Does NATO respond? Or does Romania respond? Do we try to act like this is just between Russia and Romania? Or is really Article 5 for real? Mike, is it for real?
Well, Pastor, didn't we have Russia probe Europe with jets about a month ago?
Yes,
right?
Yes, we did.
And people forgot about that. Didn't we have drones also probe Poland?
Yes, we did.
We had a lot of drones flying in Poland.
Yep.
So it's kind of obvious what has happened here. What's not so obvious are the new nuclear vehicles that Russia has.
And are these the submarine ones?
No, these are above ground. The ones in the ocean are worse than the ones above ground. They're based on new technology. They're not the Satan class nuclear devices, right? Vehicles.
So we're
not talking about Satan 1 and 2. We're talking about something else. And it's not the hypersonic delivery system that everybody saw either.
So it's something else.
Yeah, it's something else. Now remember, Russia's the ones that developed this ICBM type device. They launched it. It went up in the upper atmosphere. It came down at supersonic speed. It released a payload. It can carry up to 20 warheads. Those warheads went in different directions, and then you're not going to stop that, right?
No.
Nuclear warheads, 20 of them, they go in different directions at hypersonic speeds. You're not going to intercept that.
There's no way.
And everybody knows it. Everybody knows that. So there's something worse than that.
Worse than what you just explained.
Yes. And Russia demonstrated the capability of those systems twice. They demonstrated that twice. And at first, people couldn't believe it was from Russia. So that was a message that, yes, this vehicle is ready. This vehicle works.
Is this a laser? Is this a type of high-powered laser vehicle?
Well, no, it's utilizing propulsion.
Okay,
right?
Okay.
Everybody has to remember this. When the space program in the USA went down, who was taking us to space?
The Russians.
Russia, right? Who developed half the electronics that China now uses and sells in their drones? The guidance systems also are Russian developed, right? So there's been a campaign, like a smear campaign going on against Russia, painting them as though they can't make anything. They can't keep anything together. But the proof is in the pudding, and somebody's bluff is going to be called shortly.
Is this why President Trump is stressed to the max, and he's not going even to his son's wedding? And people are at the same time, you have lone gunmen trying to rush the White House. I mean, and oh, by the way, we've got lunatics from the left who are running around hating on America. They turn their back on the flag. They hang the wrong flags outside their office in Congress. I mean, we got some serious, and I don't even know who's crawling around in the Pentagon. I would hate to even ask. Is President Trump stressed to the absolute max with Putin? And does he understand the serpent that we're dealing with here? Because this guy's like a snake.
You know what I think? I think they kind of understand, but the only way they can truly see this guy is with biblical eyes, right? Putin is an uncommon character. He is he's like the mafia and the Pope put smashed together, and so he can present himself as harmless while he's doing harmful things. He gave a press conference to a bunch of regarding a bunch of children. At the same time, he had given the order to kill countless Ukrainians. This happened in Crimea too. So normally when he gives these crushing orders, he'll start doing a nice thing with children. And that's odd, right? So their mindsets are different than
well, he's like an animal playing with its prey.
Yeah, to him is strategy.
Yeah.
Now think about it. Because he thinks we are evil, right? Now, what you think about this paradigm, if a nation thinks we are evil, the same way we look at another nation like Iran with their people, and we say, how can they do that? Well, that nation is looking at us the same way.
Same way. That's when you have nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdoms.
That's right.
And Jesus even said, there will be wars and rumors of wars, but he said, see that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. Ezekiel 38 includes Russia, Turkey, Iran, and some of the African nations jump in, and then others. This is building. I don't trust Erdogan as far as I can, spit. Be quite honest with you. This is another joke, and he's dangerous. They got nukes. This is becoming a dangerous world, and it's really. And I'm not preaching fear, folks. It's just reality. Jesus already told us this was coming. The Old Testament prophets already prophesied it and told us it was coming. We just get to be the ones living in this time just before the coming of Christ. World War III is on the brink. Am I right, Mike?
Yeah, and I think, you know what, Pastor, I think that people have to start looking at this the right way too.
Okay.
Number one, Satan is not doing everything he wants to do. He's doing exactly what God has him existing doing.
I see.
Right? Satan, if God didn't want Satan around, Satan would not be around. Right?
Exactly.
But he's playing a role. In the Old Testament, there's a scripture. God said, I created the good and the evil. Now, God does not do evil, right? But
No.
he set all the pieces in play, and everything that happens here on this earth, prophecy is going to be fulfilled. Prophecy is not not a prediction. Prophecy is what he's telling
reality.
us what he's going to do. That's right. He's telling us exactly what he's going to do, right?
Yeah.
So all these things that happen, though, to get rid of darkness, you have to do it in a very specific way. If somebody, I'll give you an example. If somebody were in your chat room, Pascal, and you knew they were evil.
Yeah.
You can't just boot that person out, because you'll have other people that don't know that person saying, oh, that was a nice person.
Oh, I know.
Why did Pastor Paul do that? So what you have to do is let that evil person unzip itself. They have to show their evil, and once everybody is seeing their evil, then you can pluck them out.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And everybody will understand then. Same thing is happening here on this earth. So the beast kingdom is a vacuum, and everybody who likes evil will join that kingdom and be a part of that kingdom. It's coming. But a Christian, a true believer, need not worry about anything. Didn't the Lord say that not one hair on our head is going to perish? So that means we're purposed all the way through. And he also said the Holy Spirit will take over, right? We don't have to plan what we're going to say when we're brought before people, because the Holy Spirit's going to give us in the same hour what we need to say. I think that people, instead of being fearful about these events coming, we don't promote them or try to rush them, but we have a different plight than the rest of the world, than those who don't believe. Those who don't believe, they're going to be under the weight of that stuff, right? To them, it's darkness. To us, it's fulfillment and deliverance. Because every time something happens in this world, people also say, well, I'm going back to the Bible, because I didn't consider this or that.
Right.
These are like alarm clocks going off.
Yep.
And if we don't have them, people will still uphold their own personal views and everything else. And but in the Bible, in Revelation, by the time things start happening, people are on one accord.
So in other
God's
words,
children are delivered, and it's for us and not against us.
Prophecy cannot be stopped. You cannot stop prophecy. Prophecy is not predictions. It's actual prophetically telling you what's going to happen. Mike, the same time that the apartment is getting hit by a drone from Russia in Romania, a gas explosion in Dallas in an apartment that killed probably, we don't know, could be 10, 12 people. We're not sure yet. Mike.
Be prepared for more of those.
And what about the sawmill in Washington blowing up, killing 11?
Well, I think, we had that one. We had the one in California.
Yep.
The factory in California.
Yep.
We had the complex in Virginia, one in West Virginia.
Yep.
We have some other things that are on the way. So here's, I believe, you have people that are in this nation right now. They're here right now. A lot of folks are in this nation right now that shouldn't be in this nation, but they're here. And they're going to do some terrible things inside the nation. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't stress that enough. They're already here. No one need come from the outside.
They're already here. They're already here.
And it's very difficult to tell who they are, because they are, the only moment we're going to know is when they show their true allegiance, right?
Yep.
What they're truly dedicated to. By that time, they will have, given over the codes for some power company or something like that. So expect these plants that have these terrible gases that they get out, they can ruin cities and towns. Expect those places to have security issues and explosions and things of that nature. We're just in that time. We're in that time. And they will do everything in their power, Pastor Paul, to enact their faith war.
Yep. in LA this week, some kind of toxic gas. 40,000 people had to be evacuated in Los Angeles.
Yep.
Apartment complex blowing up tonight in Dallas. Sawmill blowing up in Washington State. Never heard of such a thing. And we got, how about the truck drivers? How about all these truck drivers that are not even legal getting a CDL in 24 hours and driving
And
around the
hitting
country
cops.
and running over people, running cops
Yeah,
over?
they are. They sure are. They sure are. Oh, you'll see it with the boats next. Boats are a bit difficult, right? But if they can get to them, they will, because they want to take out the ports, right?
Yeah.
They want to exploit our fuel storage depots.
Yeah, but Mike,
Um,
before they get in a truck and drive it down the road, somebody has to hand them a license. What in the world's going on with the legislation in California, Oregon, Washington State, some of these places? What
I
are
don't
they
think it's that.
thinking?
I don't even think it's that. I don't think it. You know what I think it is? I think these people out there. They believe what they hear on the news, Pastor Paul. They're living their lives by the news. And this is my number one complaint with all news personnel. People are watching them and they interpret the world by the news they watch. Now, just imagine that. Somebody watching a biased television channel that's not reporting news, they're just gossiping, talking about people.
You're
Or
right.
you're going to develop a hatred in the hearts of the populace. So you can have a couple mean-spirited people in one news organization that could affect 60 million people in less than 15 minutes and cause them to hate the other side.
I hear you on that,
This is
Mike, but
happening
I'm
all over the
talking.
earth.
I hear you, but I'm talking about legislating. It's okay to give illegal individuals who can't even speak English a driver's license to drive an 18-wheeler down the highway. And they can't even know that. They don't even
That's
know
the problem.
That's not the
That's
news.
the problem.
That's the legislators who
No,
put it.
and you hear people. These people are out there, right? You have people in the White House right now saying the other side is evil. So what we have to do is
I
free
agree.
these people,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So they say, well, let's free these people. They're talking about, a lot of people are talking about these illegal aliens. They say, let's do it across the board and give them health care. And let's go ahead and let them fully integrate on their own and bypass these evil people who just want to hold them back. I'll tell you something, right? I was born in a family of Democrats, right? But I never had Democratic ideas because they
Okay.
didn't make sense to me. Never. They just didn't make sense to me. I do not believe in going in a house and you put everybody to bed and leave your front door open and your windows open and
No.
your chimney open. I don't believe in that, right?
No.
I believe in security for anybody in the house, responsibility. But unfortunately, they have turned these ideologies into policy, right?
You're right.
They forced an open border. That was forced.
That was
a
forced.
forced open border, and the campaigns kept that border open. They knew what was happening, and they thought it was manageable. Unfortunately, when you start to overlook security, you've already messed up. It may look good in the beginning,
True.
but crime was so high in this country. Drugs are out of control still. Despite the crackdown, drugs are out of control.
You're right.
And all that happened because they just allowed other people to come in and hold them. They were supposed to assimilate, but that's not what they did. They came in and they established their home nations, right, culture here in this nation, forcing others to adopt their culture.
You're right.
Then we had laws to back that up, saying, well, let's take down everything of Christ and put Buddha up there, or put Muhammad up there, or put this, that, and the other.
Dearborn,
That's
Michigan.
what happened.
Dearborn, Michigan.
That's what happened.
I know. Minnesota, parts of Minnesota, certain sectors
what
of
happened.
Minneapolis, Dearborn, Michigan, parts of Detroit, parts in Atlanta, parts in Los Angeles. There's parts in San Diego. There's parts of that in San Francisco. There's a lot of them in New York. And your point is, it don't work well. It's really sad. And you're dead on right about the fact that there was no security. And now we have to pay a price because not everybody that comes to America loves America.
That's right. And a lot of people in America don't like America.
I know.
They hate America.
Yep.
And the news is driving it. So some of those folks are politicians.
I agree.
You'd be surprised at the hatred that's in the Pentagon, the hatred that's in the White House.
That's what I'm worried about.
The jealousy, the fights, how people are just underhanded. People are kicked out of meetings. Or just simply not inviting people to meetings they need to be involved with. So you're having a breakdown with, that's why President Trump and others, just not him, but on the Democratic side, Jeffries had a call for loyal people, right? You know how everybody said, well, Trump wants people loyal to him. Well, Jeffries did too.
Jeffries does
right?
too, yeah.
Because everybody needs people they can trust in,
right?
There's a governmental war happening right now.
Oh, it's
That's
obvious.
what we see.
It's obvious. Yeah. And it's
and,
even within the parties. They're fighting
it
in the
is, and
parties. Yeah.
it sounded crazy when I said that about what
Yeah,
5 years ago,
yeah,
didn't it?
Yep. You said there's a civil war going on in the government. I remember this.
Governmental civil war.
Governmental civil
Yep.
war. And at
Yep.
the time it didn't appear that was boiling or that we could see that. But you said it, and it absolutely come to pass dead on. I mean, that was a prophetic, but you've seen it already. You knew. So let me ask
Now
you.
you have
Go ahead, Mike.
the big players are coming out there. I'll tell you something, right? Everybody has learned a narrative, a popular narrative. Pastor Paul, the big wigs are coming to the forefront. There's no need for them to hide after this next, after this break. I'm going to call it a break. After this break is over with, the big wigs, those who have been running the show, they won't hide anymore. They're coming forward.
Kingmakers, the Kingmakers.
People will get to finally meet for the first time because they've not met them before. They're going to meet those who have been pulling strings.
Wow,
that's who's coming forward.
Saying
they
the
have not met them before.
Almost the Illuminati. Almost is. We're going to see who they are. They're going to play their hand. They're going to show their power.
The real power. That's right.
Will that happen during a third war, a World War III, maybe going on? Is that when they step up to the plate and say who they are?
That's when some will. There are in that fold. There are always 12. Always 12. Always 12.
Majestic 12, and now we got another 12. So okay,
there are always 12.
Are they families? Are they families? 12 families, or are they more like?
Yeah, they're rooted in families.
Okay.
Some of them people may be familiar with. They probably will be familiar with. Some of them not, but they've not seen them in this capacity before, right?
Yeah.
And I tell you, these folks have the money. They tell people what to do, and they're if you're a thorn in their side,
you're in trouble.
Say like if a president ever came forward and would not listen to them, they would have to surround themselves by people who would actually, really protect them.
Mike, are you concerned about President Trump being assassinated?
No, of course I am. They've been trying this every single day.
Yeah. And now
and Marco Rubio.
Marco Rubio.
He's the second most capable person in Washington. Right.
What about Trump's children and grandchildren? Do you think that they would take one of them out if they had to get to Trump?
If they could, yeah.
I mean, when we start praying, folks, and we pray, you got to pray for the entire family. You got to pray for our leaders who are in position. Even some of them I don't really care a whole lot for. I still pray for them because I realize the nation has to stay together. Because, we have to stay together because we've been talking all evening about exterior forces that are looking for a weakness. Am I right, Mike?
Yeah, they are. And things have been set up like Facebook, right? Anybody know what Facebook used to be called before it was Facebook? In fact, I'll tell you something.
MySpace?
DARPA shut down a program on a specific day, the exact same day Facebook became a business.
MySpace or something different?
No.
Okay.
DARPA had a program running.
So DARPA made it.
All the information on everybody in the world, right?
Yeah.
And the day they shut down their program, Facebook started up the exact same day. All that money and authorization was given to Facebook, and it was not MySpace. No. This was something. DARPA invented this.
So let me ask
you. We're talking about government programs.
Right. So let me ask you, did Amazon, did SpaceX, did Facebook, did Google, and I can go on down these big, and some of the big banks, were they already handpicked by the power that we haven't seen yet, the hand we don't see? I mean, because it seems like when they arrived on the scene, they just took over industries.
They won. That's the only way you can win like that, by the way. Nobody's going to win like that unless somebody puts you in that position.
Right.
You're not going to be successful in this world, right? Unless you're working with these guys, there's no other way around it. And if you have so many millions of dollars, you're going to know who these guys are, and that's when people change. But look at that. So that will open a door to something else, Pastor Paul. Everybody on Facebook, right?
Yep.
Voluntarily entered a government program. as the truth. It's
I
already,
believe that.
it's out there.
I believe it, Mike. I
It's,
believe you on this 100%.
but they want information on everybody so they can make, well, let's just say so they can move the people, right? Subdue the people enough. So people can't really see everything, but prophecy allows us to see everything we need to see.
So let's talk about that, because if all you go by is the media or your social media, the news media or the social media, and you don't know the Bible, then you're still blind as a bat as you're going through this world. You're stumbling in the darkness. The difference is if you know the Word of God and you understand prophetically and you let the Spirit of God give you some discernment, we can see what's happening. We actually can see it happening. And we know what's going to happen because we already know what the prophetic word said is going to happen. So as Christians, shouldn't we be looking more into the prophecies of these days that we are in? I mean, shouldn't we be preaching it? Shouldn't we be studying it more? Should people be inquiring more?
Yeah, because eventually we're going to get, the further along we get, the more refined we're going to understand that those prophecies. I know everybody has different ideas now, but the further along we go, we have no choice but to see the truth more and more.
You're right.
But all of it, it's a roadmap into what the Father's doing, our process. This is his process. He's not going to change it. It's going to happen like the heavens. Everybody quit talking about the heavens.
I was getting ready to ask you about Planet X and what's going on, because it seems like whatever's going on down here manifests up there. Talk about the heavens for us.
Well, they quit talking about it, and they actually they've made if people look closely, especially with this disclosure thing, right?
Yep.
They wanted to feel the pulse of the people. Well, the pulse of the people with this first release was not, the only people that were enthused are those who know about the subject. The rest of the people, they don't care about it, right? They really don't care about it.
No.
And so what do you see happening now? You see it turned into something else.
Yeah.
That's what you see is it's being turned into something else. But I'm telling you something, the shock and awe, in order for something to work, they need shock and awe. You can't have people comfortable with any idea before that. Shock and awe won't work, right? The whole purpose of shock and awe is to take absolute immediate command and control of people by shock and awe, right? It's a surprise. And you have a lot of people who theorize that they think they know how the end will unfold, but I think the Bible is pretty clear. It'll be refined as we get closer, that we're going to have celestial issues, right? Celestial questions. We're going to have people come forward. A lot of false Christs and false prophets.
Amen.
But these false Christs and false prophets will exercise miraculous powers, right?
Yes, you're right.
And it is my firm belief they'll be enabled by what is behind this disclosure stuff. And also this disclosure thing, it helps to fight the narrative of like the book of Enoch, right? Or the book of Jude, certain books like that, which may not be, the book of Enoch may not be authoritative, this and the other, but it's still, it comes from a perspective. It may not have been written by Enoch himself, but it holds a view that's very consistent with the Word of God.
That's correct.
And a lot of people, they don't want people to look into that, because if they understood what they were, right? If a Christian rebukes the devil, doesn't matter what form he's in, he's got to go. And they don't want that. They already know that. I believe in the Bible, that's why it says there must come a falling away first. Then that man of perdition is going to be revealed. Not before. He can only be revealed after the falling away.
You're right.
Because if a devil comes close to a real believing Christian and they're walking down the street, they're going to rebuke it and keep walking. And that thing has to go. So they just interrupted all darkness. That's what the world bows to, not us. And so they can't come around believing Christians. So they have a campaign. They've been working against our beliefs, right? Causing many Christians to compromise themselves, big time, so that they have no power, right? So then these things will come around or seduce them totally into believing, other folks in the world. But when it happens and these things come forward, number one, they can only come forward where there are very few believers in the world. Right? They cannot come forward.
So you're saying the weaker the church gets and the falling away happens, the stronger and the more chances that they're going to make a move. These demons, these things.
Bingo. That's right. Because there's no way they're going to. Satan is prideful. right? He's prideful.
Yep.
He has never allowed anybody to introduce him, and no fallen angel has ever allowed a human being to introduce them. They always introduce themselves, and they do so in an environment of fear. Right? They don't do it in an environment of faith.
Exactly. They only this movie that you talked about last week very, very well and explained it very well. This movie is going to bring fear, but it's also going to bring a false love and some type of the determination or a finality. All right, now I know the whole deal. Now I know what's going on. In other words, people are going to make up their mind. And it's going to be whether they believe there's a God or not. I think that's really the battle here. Is there a God, or are we from something else? But it feels good. If it feels good, it must be good. I mean, you embrace that. You explained that last week very well.
And it won't work. You know why it's going to work? You know why it's going to work? Because people express everything on their minds on social media.
Yeah, you're right.
That's why it's going to work.
Yep.
They're typing how they feel about everything into a mainframe that's being captured. They know exactly when to introduce something and when not to introduce it, when to start a war and when not to start a war. They've got the pulse of everybody because all these young kids, some of the older people, they express their feelings on a moment-to-moment basis on these programs like LifeLog, Facebook or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so here we are. That's their feedback mechanism they didn't have before, but they have it now. They know exactly when the falling away would have happened because people will begin to talk differently on Facebook. They know all the statistics and everything else. And if you look carefully, Pascal, isn't it true that just when you think something should happen in the world or to someone, it changes direction?
Yeah,
have you ever noticed that? It
Yep.
gets close, but it changes direction to throw you off.
Yep.
Right? It's like somebody is controlling these big events. Well, the truth is they're setting up things, and they do that according to the information they have feedback on.
Now let's talk about the movie again one more time, because Steven Spielberg released his last trailer today, and he appears in it, which is, I've never seen a director put himself in a movie. I've never seen, I mean, not like this. He's not in the movie. He appears in the trailer and he stops from time to time. He says, okay, now you understand. Now we understand where where things are happening. And he ultimately says to the people in the end, they are real. The aliens are here. It is the truth. It is the truth. I've never
Who's paying him?
Oh, something. He's getting paid a ton of money for this. I mean,
come on. Who's paying these? Where's this? When Hollywood makes a movie, they front the money up front.
Oh, yes, they do. Yes, they do.
You know where they get that money from? I need to tell people this. If they start tracing the books,
I'd hate to know.
We're paying that
now.
money.
I was getting ready to say, don't say the taxpayer.
We're paying that money. You know, the black budget that's supposed to go to R&D to this and that. Well, guess what? PsyOps.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
There's a lot of R&D and PsyOps.
Yep.
A lot of R&D and counterintelligence and counterintelligence. So a lot of that $1 trillion is going towards that too. Now, when he makes this movie, and they're going to tie in that mythical element to the faith element.
Yes, they
and
are.
Answer some questions. They're going to plant a seed in people's minds. And Pastor, I'll tell you what, when they swallow this one, there are going to be so many people who, with a message of love, will be emissaries.
This is amazing that you're bringing this up, because Satan loves to operate in fear, but he also wants to have a false love. So is that what you're saying, Mike? You're saying that this movie is going to, we're going to see a different spiritual
you bet.
Group of people.
You bet. It's going to turn many of those who are fearful of this subject, who have heard that aliens are tyrants and, they come to kill us, this, that, and the other. It's going to turn many of them into advocates, right, for any species out there.
Wow.
Now, the churches, their churches set up to handle this. There are specific churches and organizations that are set up to handle this once it comes out, because I will tell you this, there are some speeches that have been prepared, and these speeches these are matter-of-fact speeches. Okay, they're not suggestive. These are matter of fact speeches. So reluctantly, I'll say that very soon we're gonna start seeing this climate change of faith into something else, something totally different, right? And if Christians, a true guard of this would be to ensure that people have biblical roots. I can't even stress that enough.
Amen.
Biblical roots in Christ, Pastor Paul, because when they come with this message of love, and when they give the alternative way in these movies, and they're going to say, hey, this is why this is happening, but the church people, they would never accept this. I'm telling you what they're going to do. They're going to almost say the church won't accept this because it's not in their narrative, but this is the way it has been for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And then because it's based in love and development and freedom, right? They're going to say some bad people have been holding it back to actually save people from themselves. This will be one of the biggest recruitment processes anybody has ever seen.
I believe that.
And then when they come forward with this message of love and somebody tries to refute what has come from when it develops within a person, because this is going to kindle something within people, then it will grow. It's not going to be instantaneous like overnight. It'll be more like 3 days, right? So it will accumulate within a person.
People are going to go watch.
They're going to rethink everything.
They're going to go watch the film by the multiple millions.
Be a seed zone.
Then they're going to go back and they're going to get on the Facebook and they're going to talk and discuss it for days
and
days.
Others will go see it. They're going to develop entire movements around this.
I agree with you. I know.
Pastor, I'm telling you.
I know
you have
right.
people out there right now. You have in America. In America, there are 107 million people right now, right, who are ready to throw their hands up and call those things forward. That's a lot of people. That number is going to double by the time this movie comes
will the
out.
church become the bad guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
The church is going to be hated. The church is going to be seen as the suppressors. And so when a person comes out and says, well, darkness is not something, they're going to say, oh, there you go again. It's going to stop the whole conversation, right? Now, does Steven Spielberg know what he's doing? I would say probably not. This is going to be coordinated on a spiritual level all throughout the world, Pastor Paul. So Steven Spielberg is doing his part.
He's just doing what he's
being. There are others. He's being inspired.
He's being handled. There's handlers. Demon handlers.
There you go. So, and it normally works like this. Somebody gets spiritually inspired to do something. I'm telling you the truth here too. So everybody listen up. A person gets spiritually inspired to do something. Then all of a sudden, some person calls you on the phone and says, hey, if you ever want to do a project and so we'll pay for it. I'm telling you, it works just like that. So you're spiritually inspired, but the backup teams who are in contact with that spirit are ready to move also. This is high spiritual coordination. Right? So that many people begin to support you in that one spiritual thing. But this is spiritually coordinated, right? Spiritually. And my dictation of the spirit realm is this. The spirit realm is reality. This is the product of that reality.
Amen.
Right?
Amen. Mike, okay, we got to ask you. The asteroids are increasing like crazy. I've been seeing video everywhere. Is Planet X, or I'll just call a binary system, another object? I mean, is this thing going to affect this? Are we being played with alien stuff to keep us from looking up? I mean, what's going on here? Can you help us understand that?
They don't want anybody to look in the heavens. They don't want that, and so because, as I said before, we're coming to a point where if a person, if they know the heavens and they start looking, they're going to start to notice patterns they can no longer deny. For example, the last time we had weather patterns in 1945, I believe, just like we had yesterday. Do you know that? It's like a mirror image.
Europe is it was 99 degrees at 99 degrees in Paris, 100 degrees in the whole Europe is on fire. I mean, with heat wave.
Did you notice the patterns in the USA? The winds were moving in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
I was sitting there watching. I was like, oh my Lord, here it starts. This is the 15th time in the last 10 years, 15 times the last 10 years, that the weather patterns have strengthened moving in this direction. What that means is that the jet stream is soon to be highly affected. Now, that can only happen through some influences external from the Earth. It's actually beginning to press in predicted areas. And then the readings are right, the atmosphere is right, the pressure in the atmosphere is right, it's lining up perfectly. Things are happening in the atmosphere that are going to be life altering, right? So we're going to go through some very critical conditions down here, altering conditions. Hopefully people are ready for those conditions. But you're looking at the biblical narrative coming true right before people's eyes.
Yeah.
Right? And this will happen with the change in people, with the change in or the disclosure stuff and the war all at the same time.
It is.
The craziness. But they don't want you looking at the heavens because it will culminate into meteor storms, not showers, right?
Yep.
They know for a fact the meteor showers that are known from year to year are responsible for the destruction of civilizations on this earth. And then there are the big destructive events that take place outside of those seasons. So these meteor showers that we have, that people know about, Pastor Paul, right?
Yep.
They're oblonged in their nature. Every time we pass through them, right? These things are oblonged. We're about to go through a thick region that was responsible for the destruction of civilizations a long time ago. This is cyclical, just like the four, winter and summer and spring and
seasons.
fall. We go through those. Well, we have other cyclical events that are very destructive, and then outside of that, we have mega events
in
that
the
are
cosmos.
quite destructive.
In the cosmos.
Yes. Which that the Earth is a part of, the sun is a part of, all these things are a part of. And so right now our atmosphere is beginning to flip. I'm going to go ahead and say the process is actually beginning. The magnetic influence in the north is I'm not going to say destabilized, but has hit a rhythmic pattern, right? That is quite notable. In fact, you can see it on an oscilloscope. The same pattern that the North Pole has taken is the same pattern that happens on an oscilloscope when you're measuring something very specific. So the Earth is going through changes that are not only predictable, but they're known. And if they do their science right, they'll be able to identify the patterns. The double wobble will soon start, which means weather is not going to be very kind. It's not going to be very kind. That means a water event, yes. It also means a dryness, right? After the water invades most of the surface of the earth and then goes away, it's going to saturate everything. Everybody should get used to red mud. The rains are coming. The fog is coming, right? The rain, like imagine it drizzled in Florida for 90 days. So that's not a massive flood, right? That's a shifting of the water.
That's just a change.
Right? And imagine it did this all over the world.
Yeah.
A continuous drizzle, right? That would cause muddy conditions, saturation, mold, all that good stuff.
Awful.
But it's not going to be some worldwide flood. It'll just be that everywhere you step is going to be wet, moist, saturated, right? That will happen, that'll last. And then right after that, the atmosphere resets, which means no clouds for at least a 10 to 15 year period.
That's not good.
Because all the waters and the chemistry of the waters will change. That's when saltwater intrusion happens during this time when the atmosphere goes through this process. Now, it may seem, it sounds odd right now, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to sound odd when they start saying, hey, for some reason, our fresh water is disappearing. It's still here, but it's not fresh. It's salt water. And when they start to notice, we have these big sections of the ocean that have turned into fresh water, right? That's what's going to happen.
Crazy.
Okay, that's what's going to happen. When they start to see this, that's not going to make sense. But just remember this conversation, because I know what I'm saying, it just does not compute. And because people are not familiar with that process, not everybody is. But when the waters change places, when they start to change places, well, then you'll know. And the atmosphere will continue to do what it does, which means stalled storms. Get ready for storms that will stay over a place for at least a week or 2 weeks and a half. Right?
Then that becomes like a rain bomb, okay?
Yeah.
And just won't go away.
Yep. No, there you are. There you are. Now we're talking about something that will span from California, go all the way to Atlanta, Georgia, and then all the way up to New York and back over to the Great Lakes. So that type storm going up into Canada.
That's crazy.
One storm stuck just like that, right? And then the wind flows will keep that storm repressurized, energized. So it continues to drop rain. It won't dry out. It just recycles and keeps going.
Like a figure eight. Hey, is Super El Nino? Is that a part of this process? Is it?
Sure, it is. But the Super El Nino could be absolutely obliterated, right, due to atmospheric changes. If the atmosphere continues to change, even the El Nino does not have enough oomph to continue in its present condition. It can't do that either. So we're going to start facing some brand new weather patterns that nobody's going to be comfortable with.
So oblong objects that are making oblong orbits, when they come close, they disrupt the sun, they disrupt the earth, they disrupt the moon. They do exactly what Christ said would happen in the end times. There'll be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars. And they disrupt people. They disrupt the weather patterns of the earth. They cause crustal displacement. Water intrusion, atmospheric compression, big, huge storms, gigantic storms. So these are the terms you've been teaching us. I've been listening, but you've been teaching us that, folks, that we don't control any of that. We only control our relationships with God and with our fellow man. I mean, we can pray a storm away occasionally. I think Miss CD has done a couple for me when I didn't want to get stuck in the airport. But I'm saying overall, we are here. What we can control is our attitude with one another.
That's right.
And I know I've heard you teach that as well.
Yeah.
We're in difficult times. To the fact that I was hoping when they said that this drone hit in Romania, I was hoping, well, Mike's going to come on. He's going to tell me, don't worry about that. That was just a rogue thing. I didn't want to hear you say Russia. You didn't even blink. You didn't blink.
I did better that than Israel. They were blaming it on Israel. Can you believe that?
Israel gets blamed for everything.
Yeah, they do.
I mean,
they blame that on Israel.
Oh, that's next week. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we're in that time, Pastor Paul.
Mike, I want to thank you for, again, taking the time out of, I know, a busy schedule. And thank you for, you know what, just calling it the way it is. I like that. And I think all of our audience likes that. And the honesty and the fact that you know the scripture as well. So you follow God and you have the compassion of the Lord. In your voice, I hear it. Thank you and for being with us again tonight.
Pastor Paul, it's my honor. God bless you, brother.
God bless you. The honor is mine. God bless you.
All right. God bless.